I think we're ready.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. My name is Edie Smazel, and I'm a vice president of the board, the executive board of the Chestnut Center. We're thanking you for being here. Apologize for the cool room. We had to have our boiler off for a bit, and now we just turned it on. So wear your jackets and huddle together if you have to. I just want to mention we have a gallery open. If before you leave and go back to work, take a look in there. We have our canvas collage. We have a half sheet that gives you the events that are coming up. We have a Halloween dance tomorrow night, costumes, and our mayor is going to be judging, so make sure you come.
Sounds good. Thanks for having us. Good morning, everybody. On behalf of Main Street Marshfield, I'm Paul Knopf, and I'm just going to serve as facilitator today for our Building Owners Town Hall. Our goal is to bring together property owners, city staff, and local partners to share updates, hear from you directly, and identify ways that we can make Marshfield and downtown Marshfield even stronger. I want to be respectful of everyone's time. We're here until 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock today, and it's going to be a hard stop. So hopefully we can get everything said that needs to be said. So as we turn it over eventually to kind of open forum, just be respectful of everybody's time. Try to be concise in what you're saying. We do have a group of panelists today. Dave Krause is here, representing Forward Bank. Ashley Frederick is here. Steve Barg, the city administrator, is here today. And Brad Simonson, who is an architect, is here as well. And we'll be turning it over to them for some introductions. But first, we want to introduce Carter. Carter Howe is our new executive director at Main Street Marshfield. He just started last week. So we're going to bring Carter up to introduce himself.
Hi there. Thank you, Paul, for the introduction. Hi, my name is Carter Howe. I'm the new executive director for Main Street Marshfield, and I'm really, really excited to be here. Marshfield is in a really great place for growth. We have a lot going on. We have amazing schools. We have this fantastic new partnership with Sanford and Marshfield Clinic, and I think that we have a lot of innovations in manufacturing and things that we can take advantage of as a Main Street organization to help foster some of that growth and build community and welcome new families into our community while also supporting our existing families that are here. I lived in Appleton for about 6 years. That's where my previous background is from. And Marshfield reminds me a lot of Appleton about 6 years ago. And during the 6 years that I lived there, we saw a tremendous amount of growth. We saw new businesses going in. We saw lots of new coffee shops, so many new apartments. Just, it seemed like that it was a really new, hip place to be, and I get the sense that Marshfield could be next, and so I'm excited to spearhead some initiatives with the community and hopefully lead us towards some of that growth. Some of my background, I have my degree from Lawrence University in Appleton, Wisconsin, which is a small liberal arts college, and then I did a lot of work for Hyde Music Company, which is a small family-owned Wisconsin business. And then a lot of my work at Hyde was in digital marketing and web design. And so something I'm really hoping to bring to Main Street Marshfield is bringing us into that digital space, making sure that everything is on Facebook and Instagram, and making sure that we are sharing what Marshfield has to offer globally. And then I also, Lawrence University is a huge music school. I have my degree in music, and so I'm really hoping to bring some music and arts initiatives into our community, putting on some really amazing events that help drive traffic to our local businesses. I would love to meet with you each one-on-one, so if you would like to schedule a meeting, please just stop by my office or send me an email, and I would be happy to have a conversation. Looking forward to working with each and every one of you. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Carter. We're excited to have Carter on board. We also have, I believe, Josh Moritz is here with Marshfield Public Works.
Good morning. My name is Josh Moritz. I've been with the city for a long time, since about 1990 in different roles. Recently, I've been appointed acting public works director. That was about a year ago. Prior to that, I was city engineer. Prior to that, I've been in engineering my entire time. from an intern on up through design engineer. Recently, the last few years, I've gotten involved with Main Street a little bit. Worked with Kaylee on a few parking lot beautification things, and I'm looking forward to learning more about what Main Street does. I've already been contacted this morning for a few things, so feel free to reach out. Thank you.
And we also have Marshfield City Planner, James, and I hope it's Liven, or is it Leven? Leven.
Thank you.
You bet.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you. My name is James Leven, and I am the new city planner. I'm about 2 months into my role, and I'm thrilled to be in front of you today to introduce myself and to work with each of you. So a little bit about my background. I'm from the Milwaukee area. I went to school for architecture at Iowa State. I lived in Ames, Iowa for 5 years. Following that, I worked for the Kohler Company and their in-house architecture and interior design team. Following that experience, I decided I unlocked my passion for planning and urban design, for which took me to Denver, Colorado to get my master's degree in urban design, and I worked out there as an architect for a number of years, until finally coming back to the Milwaukee area around 2023, where I worked for a company called Rinka in downtown Milwaukee, serving communities just like this one and their master planning team, where I've really been able to exercise the power of placemaking and really understanding how community champions make meaningful change and growth happen in each one of these communities. So I'm thrilled to be working here and to get to know each one of you, and I'm very excited. Thank you.
And finally, I noticed that we have the mayor here as well. So if the mayor would like to say anything, you certainly can.
Anything. Being here, and I know we're going to learn a lot of things about Main Street and about Marshfield. We got a great panel, a great, what do you call yourself, Paul? Don't answer that question.
I told I'm a facilitator.
Carter, again, welcome, and everyone, when the day is done here, enjoy the rest of your day, the rest of your week, and again, I would encourage you, please, seriously, to come to the event tomorrow night, not just because I am judging the contest. These folks need more of us to be there. Last year I was there, I won't tell you how many people, but take my shoes off, it's less than my fingers and my toes. So we need more of that representation. They were going to have to open it up for us today, right? So please, if you can make it, even for a half hour tomorrow night, that would be great. Show your support for the Chestnut Center. They're doing a lot of things. And if we support them more, they're going to support us more. Okay? Is that fair? Yes, it is. Hope to see at least 10 of you there tomorrow. Maybe 15 or 20. Bring your friends, too. And thank you very much.
All right, just so everybody knows kind of how this is going to flow, I'm going to turn it over to our panelists. They're going to introduce themselves. And then we're going to open it up for kind of a roundtable discussion where I'll walk down there and give you the microphone if you have something you'd like to say or a question you'd like to ask. I think from Main Street's perspective, we really want to see and we want to learn more about how we can serve building owners better. And a lot of that, you know, the building owners basically fund the organization in a lot of ways. We also know that there's a component there where we have to make sure the businesses are doing well as well. So we want to learn how we can help you guys as much as we possibly can. So with that, we're going to turn it over to our panelists. And if you could just introduce yourself and say whatever you would like to say.
Thanks, Paul. I'm Ashley Frederick, broker owner of Next Home Hub City here downtown. Been in real estate for almost 15 years. I have 2 downtown buildings that my husband and I own, and I also serve on the Main Street board and on the Economic Vitality Subcommittee.
Yes, good morning. My name is Dave Krause. I am a senior commercial lender here with Forward Bank, prior Forward Financial Bank, prior Marshfield Savings Bank. Been with them for about 19 years. I have a personal interest in downtown redevelopment, been active in a lot of the Second Street meetings and just, you know, attending those as a citizen. So I have an acute interest in that area as well and trying to overlay that with the financing aspect of things. So any questions about financing, rates, collaborative efforts that need to happen? I've got several success stories of collaboration that we can get into later as well. So on how important it is for us all to support each other positively as we're trying to grow our community. So
good morning, everybody. My name is Brad Simonson. I'm an architect and a landscape architect with HSR Associates from La Crosse. Our company has been in business since 1953. I've been with the company for 45 years, right out of college from the University of Minnesota, and done many, many projects, revitalization type projects, restoration projects, even new buildings within districts that are trying to revitalize. So we've got a lot of good experience, and I love this topic. It's a tremendous, passionate topic for me. I personally have worked on several buildings myself. So again, look forward to a great conversation. I like the format too, because you don't have to listen to us too long. Hopefully we'll get lots of input and comments from all of you. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Steve Barg. I'm the city administrator here in town. I grew up in central Minnesota. My dad was actually a longtime city council member and a county supervisor, so I kind of grew up with government. And my entire career actually has been in local government. I spent the 13 years before I came here as administrator in Ripon over in eastern Wisconsin, and now I'm in my 15th year here in Marshfield. I think Marshfield is a wonderful place to live, work, and play, and I'm just so grateful to be here. It's been a wonderful run, and I look forward to hearing more from you guys and hopefully working with Main Street in the future.
All right, that's great. We're going to open it up for discussion now. And one of the prompts that I was given was if you guys could wave a magic wand to make something better for yourself as a downtown business owner, what would that be? So does anybody want to start the discussion?
It'd be great to see more retail downtown, because retail is a booming business, and it brings people downtown, gives them the aesthetics. It helps the other businesses that are here, so and I've been doing this a long time, and that would be my first take. How's that?
Sounds good. And just for the benefit of the folks, as we have Marshfield Broadcasting here, what the mayor said is we need more retail downtown. That kind of builds kind of excitement and gets more people coming downtown, and any back from having more retail in the downtown area, if anything.
You want me to? Okay, I can, sometimes I can do this without a microphone because my voice transmits pretty well. But again, when you're talking about revitalization, the first and foremost component of that is understanding your needs and goals. You need to understand well, let me back up a little bit. There's three components to it. One is understanding your needs and goals. Next is creating a vision. You need to, from those needs and goals, understand where you want to go with this. What's your vision for satisfying your needs and goals? Thirdly, it's implementation. You need to get the experts involved that will be able to help you kind of implement your vision. And again, it kind of comes down to those three things. Pretty straightforward, but the primary piece of it is understanding where you want to go, what you need, and then how do you want to get there, okay? So everybody's got different needs and goals. Everybody's got different aspects. So it's no one answer fits all. So it's individuals. And then you take your facilities and understand what they have to offer and build upon those ideas. So what else? You guys want to add some things?
Sure. I think, a lot of it too is just having the open spaces available for retail. So some of the places that are available right now are, 10,000 square feet, which might not work for someone. So having the ability to piece potential different parties together, and just working all together to let each other know when places are available for lease. So sometimes they're listed with realtors, sometimes they're listed privately with a sign in the window, and so people that are looking for places to rent might miss those as well. So trying to find a more uniform way of, openings that might be available downtown.
And I also think one of the things we always look at when someone has a funding request is kind of their analysis of the market. As you said, what are they looking, what's the vision and the implementation? And I don't think a current business owner should not be afraid of inviting collaborative other businesses, not competitive businesses, but they shouldn't be afraid of having a competitor next door because, you know, there's example after example. Car dealerships, they all cluster together. You're going to go shop for a car, there's 8 different dealerships there. Galena, Illinois comes to mind. All of the antique stores there. You know, people know that as the center of excellence in that area. You know, why can't we do that in a smaller scale here in Marshfield? If a woman's boutique, hey, you know, there's a great boutique, why wouldn't that business owner invite others so that people can come down and shop down the street? You know, it's the reason we have malls is because it's all in one local area. There's no reason we shouldn't have that, and not be afraid of that competition and invite actually those people and maybe look for those people, you know, to come in and say, hey, we're doing pretty well here. We think we can do better because, you know, you're here too. You offer a little bit different line than we do, but I think, you know, if someone's in shopping, if they can't buy from me, they can buy from you and raise all things. That works in a lot of business. It wouldn't work in others. Obviously, you have to be consistent. I know, Steve, you don't need another movie theater in town. We just don't have the market for that, but there's, I think, a lot of areas downtown that would really, you know, we need more restaurants because we know a restaurant, you know, if we need options, and we just don't have that. So don't be afraid as a business owner of looking for those types of things and looking, hey, you know, if these guys were here, that is probably going to raise my ship a little bit as well. So,
All right, sounds good. So I guess the comment was we need more retail in downtown Marshfield, and some of the things that maybe need to be worked on as far as getting more retail would be availability of, you know, the right size spaces. Funding was also brought up as a possible hindrance, but something that can definitely be overcome. I would just say, as a property owner, if you're out there and you have questions, maybe something that's holding you guys back, we do have plenty of people here that can kind of address your concerns, so feel free to bring those up. Does anybody else have anything they'd like to talk about?
I have a question.
Vicki?
So Dave had, what he was saying, he talked about how bringing more restaurants, you know, it gives us options, and what is the city, or, you know, I'm on the Main Street board, so like Mackie, what are we able to do to help bring in restaurants, especially when I hear things like we don't have liquor licenses available, and, you know, that makes it hard to tempt a restaurant to come in if we're going to tie their hands right away by not allowing them to serve mixed drinks where they can only serve beer, they can only serve wine. How do we get past hurdles like that?
I'll talk first about the liquor license issue. I mean, our hands are tied by state law, which I'm always frustrated about. I'm not sure why that is. I would think that anybody who can, you know, pass the responsible test or whatever in terms of being a licensed establishment should have that opportunity. And I'm not sure why we're trying as a state to restrict entrepreneurialism with restaurant owners and whatnot. But as it is, we have basically a certain number, then we have 2 others that we can grant at a $10,000 amount, where that was set again was by state law. But I believe we're tapped out of all possible licenses at this point. I know there's some potential to be able to share with other communities in a way that, you know, they can kind of trade, but the limitations are pretty strong. I think the bigger battle there is trying to get state law relaxed.
I have a follow-up question on that. Has that number changed?
I think I think it's population-based in large part, but
I don't want to sit here and be like, oh, when I was a kid, but I'm going to say it, oh, when I was a kid. It just seemed like there was more restaurants that had alcohol at them. We got more restaurants then. You know, I could go up and down a list that we had. So, you know, where are those? Are those things that people are holding on to with the building to give their building value?
So I'll answer that question. I'm president executive. So my job is to know city law and my job is to pay fees. Right now, we have 1 license per capita. So back in 1997, the census, how many licenses go up by the population? Now the census years back and forth. They'll get it, but they won't take it away. Population has increased, but businesses have increased. Now other places have lobbied for certain licenses, and Congress, Pinky was has one, or certain other businesses that have, I have one, or movie theaters you have do the lobbying of that. Right now, we're in the works of trying to change requirements to maintain the liquor license, to have a liquor license. There's a lot of, you're not doing the person who's frustrated with this, there's hundreds of thousands of people. So the population is growing, but the businesses are growing. So as of right now, a couple of weeks ago, they had a meeting with lobbyists requiring us to maintain the liquor licenses. They haven't changed since 1987. So we're working on a decision, right? And so we have another meeting coming up shortly, next month about this, with that, Department of Revenue, what the people are doing. So,
Do they just look solely at,
population.
of just our footprint of,
So
they don't take
everything's
into
counted as
account?
dollars of licenses, okay? So you work out the all these counties based on populations, what the Department of Revenue law you have. So if we get an inflation of 1,000 people, then we'll get 2 extra licenses on our programs. So it's a need that everybody has. Now we have on July 1st, a wedding bar situation going on. So now your wedding bar is trying to get liquor licenses also. So once July 1st happens, everybody's going to go to a wedding bar in the municipality is going to try to buy whatever reserved for 10,000, whatever reserved for, if there's a reserve for license available. We just had a conversation yesterday with municipality. They sold liquor license for 80,000. We have 2 other ones left, but they said our price tag is going to be $150,000 for those licenses. That person will have to pay for the city to run for it.
Okay, so then my question, like you just had two new Mexican restaurants who had never had a liquor license in that establishment. How did they get one?
Those are called reserve licenses, okay? So reserve licenses are going to So reserve licenses are, you have your normal licenses, you have your reserve licenses. Reserve license is based on population, whatever's left over. The city can set a requirement of what they have to pay for that. So it could be minimum of $10,000 up to whatever dollar amount the city feels need to have that part of it. So the 2 that were left, I think we had 3 actually, but the 2 that were left, and I'm going towards the Mexican restaurants, they went there, they went through council, they paid their $10,000, and they obtained those liquor licenses. Until another business goes under, another business surrenders their license, there will not be any license available. Does that help
and
at
adding
all?
to that, I'm not aware of any businesses that are, what?
I just asked her if she understood it.
Adding to that, I'm not aware of anybody who's holding a license and not using it at this point. If there is, I'm unaware of it. So it does become that thing that was just mentioned, until somebody surrenders one, we really don't have one to give. I wish we did, because I think one of the things we do need to encourage downtown is more restaurants. You hear that a lot of times, but the tool of liquor licenses is just tightly held by the state of Wisconsin.
Okay, as the mayor, I'm going to say this, and I'm going to say it out loud. Thank you, because this is not the city to blame. And please share that with everybody, because education is a huge thing, right, Marcia? Yes, so please, I hear this all the time. It's the city's fault. It's the city's fault this isn't happening. No. Josh just told us. Steve just told us. So please share with everybody that we're not your enemy. We are here to help make this better for all of us and make it happen in the right way with the right policies and the right rules.
Just to interject here, just a show of hands, how many think that the liquor license thing is holding downtown Marshfield back a little bit? Okay. And one of the things that we've heard loud and clear this year is all of the organizations, Main Street Marshfield, Visit Marshfield, Mackey, that kind of have a similar, I guess, mission, need to work better together. I know Mackey has always had a very strong legislative kind of agenda, like working with state legislators. And maybe this is something that Main Street Marshfield, Carter, if you want to jot that down, that's something we can do as well, as advocate legislatively for Main Street property owners.
That's a great point. Main Street can advocate, city can advocate, find your legislators, let them know what this means at the local level when they have policies like that, and how it does limit business growth.
All right, any other comments? Go ahead.
I was going to add, I'm on the judicial committee in the city, and there is a 90-day time frame if a business closes with a liquor license. If they don't open within 90 days, we can go back and get that license. And I'm not aware of any situation that applies right now for that.
All right, any other property owners have any comments, concerns they'd like to raise? I guess I would just ask, how can Main Street be of better service to you guys as property owners? We've obviously had a lot of discussion in this past year, but if somebody would like to talk about that, I would encourage that.
Tom Witzel, Hub City Ice Cream Company. The biggest frustration that as a business owner I'm finding is, and I wish there were more elected officials here today, the lack of funding, the great ideas of doing things and then cutting back the funding to maintain those things. Prime example, there are some islands that were put in the parking lot behind the police department. Those have gone to weeds. They look horrible. Parking lots have not been painted in forever. We put in a wonderful pool downtown, or on the south side, and then we cut the funding to staff that pool, so we cut the hours. We put in a wonderful plaza in the downtown, and then we cut the funding to provide for the splash pad. There's all of these grand ideas that our elected officials put forth, and yes, I did serve for a number of years, so I understand budgeting situations. But there's all these wonderful ideas, but then when it comes time to actually maintain those ideas, it just, oh, we got to cut budgets, we got this other thing going on. We need to have that maintenance, that support. And I understand there's big concerns about taxes. Like I said, I did serve. I served at a time when we were dealing with the whole TIF financing and how do we fix that whole debacle. So I understand that, but we're getting to a point where we're again healthy. We need to continue to fund the things that make our Main Street look beautiful and that keep things open as they had been planned to be done.
Yeah, I think you made a good point. We have to be a good partner. There's no doubt about it. And the things about weeds in the parking lots and striping and repairs, I think that's something we need to work on. That is a big deal. Some of our parking lots are in better shape than others, and it's not the fault of the city per se, but it's something we could work on with Main Street and try to, because I know Main Street does some of the work in terms of the landscaping. That would be an opportunity for a partnership. Because you're right, if you come in from out of town and you pull into one of the parking lots and it doesn't look great, it doesn't give you a good starting point for your view of the downtown Marshfield area. So those are comments that we can definitely take to heart.
Can add a little bit to that.
The other thing I want to mention, you know, we are a seasonal business right across from the plaza. Everybody says, oh, that's the best place ever. You think so, but I think my wife had one customer yesterday in the 7 hours we were open. We set our hours in the summertime, beginning of summer, because we had a lot of people who were going to the splash pad in the morning before nap time. Is there any way you can be open in the morning? Okay, so we opened up at 11 o'clock and we stayed open until 9 o'clock. 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. every day, Tuesday through Friday. And then all of a sudden, there was a budget cut. And all of a sudden, the splash pad's not open. And we have people showing up to use the splash pad, and there's no splash pad. And they're coming over to us, and we're saying, I'm sorry, the city cut the budget. The city cut the... So it's those other things also. It's not just the maintenance and the repair, but it's all of those things. If there's a commitment to having that venue be a jewel, as I've heard it referred to in the city, then let's make it a jewel, and let's not cut it back.
I look out to Justin and Nikki at this point. Is it 12 to 7 or 12 to 7? Yeah, I know. And we cut that last year. That was a budget cut when we made a lot of smaller budget cuts, and maybe that's something we could potentially revisit at this point. I'm getting your point loud and clear, and I think you make a good point about the city being as good a partner as they can be.
I'm going to add a little bit to some of them conversations. Obviously, it takes everything. It's not just one piece of the puzzle here. It's working with the city, all of the spaces that everybody's involved with every day. That you know, it's amazing how space affects a person, or the environment affects a person, and that's kind of a critical component. It makes a person feel good or not feel good. Okay, the functionality of that space makes a person feel good or not feel good. So those things are critical when it comes to planning and designing, visioning, you know, defining the needs and goals, creating that vision, and then implementing that vision. And it all needs to work together. It's not just one thing. So that's where all of us need to come into play, and kind of, it's like a piece of music needs to work together. You talked a little bit earlier about competition. I'm from Galesville, Wisconsin. We've been working on downtown a long time, okay, since the late 80s. Revitalizing there, we've got some special things we wanted to take advantage of. You have the same kinds of things and same kinds of features here. It's been a struggle, but since more recently, there's been some businesses that have taken on some of their buildings, done a few things, then competition comes into play. People see that and they start to say, okay, I got to compete with that. And then other businesses come into town. And now it's kind of a renaissance that's happening in Galesville of businesses, new businesses, creative thinking on how to utilize their space, their buildings. The exterior space falls right into play with all of that. So it's not just one item out there, it's a piece of music, and it needs to work all together to really help each other. And that's kind of what it comes down to. It's a team, even though we've got our own thing, but we need to realize that it's a bigger picture, and if one person does well, the rest of the team is going to, do well as well. So everybody builds on each other, and that's kind of an important piece of the puzzle too. So you got some good questions and comments. I wasn't familiar with the liquor stuff, so that's it's good to know that. Okay.
And Tom, I think to the other point of that, there are a lot of grant opportunities that we're not currently taking advantage of, I think, as a city, and it's really a matter of, I think that's probably something Carter will be working on in the future, works strongly with Mackie, and I think maybe Marcia, you can speak to it, but there are a lot of key people that have to be involved in order to actually have grants happen. So Marcia, maybe if you just want to talk about some of the experience you've had in the last year with that. I don't know, or Paul, if you want to give her.
Yeah, so I think one of the biggest things that people may not necessarily understand about a lot of these granting opportunities is that as for-profit businesses, we don't always have the ability to apply for them. They have to come through a municipality or a nonprofit organization. And so what that means is that we as businesses are extremely dependent on these economic arms to apply for these things. The chamber submitted a grant application for $250,000. We partnered with them on that. We are confident and hopeful, Sierra, right, that that money's going to come through. Of course, there are no guarantees because these grants are all very competitive. But I guess from my perspective, I think the best thing that these nonprofits, municipalities can do for businesses is to go after these larger pots of money, because without you, we don't have access to those funds, and that's really huge. And so, Josh and I had a conversation about grant opportunities as well, and I'm constantly looking at what kinds of opportunities can we apply for and how can we do that through Main Street so that we can make those things available. So it's an ongoing process. It's not an easy process. They're extremely competitive. I think the upside of that is that because we do have some pretty significant needs, and working together, we can figure out what those needs are. We stand to be in a good position to secure some of those things. But it really does have to be a collaborative and a team effort, and we have to have organizations that are willing to step up and be the entity that's going to not just apply for those funds, but to manage those funds. And if we don't have an arm that can do that, then as a community, we need to figure out whether that's contracting or however we do that, we need to figure out how to do that, because those dollars are just really, really vital to a lot of businesses. And I know that this is a little bit of a gray area too, because I've heard council members from time to time say, businesses should invest in themselves. Absolutely, 100%, and they do, because most of these grants are a dollar for dollar match. So some of the council members that I've talked to, one of the things I've encouraged them to do is ask people that have gotten grants to come to city council and talk about how critical those dollars were and what they actually did with them, because I think that's another piece that has historically been missing, is you hear that people got grants, but you don't know what they did with those grant dollars. And I think if there was a broader understanding as to how those dollars are being utilized and how it's maximizing not just what we can do in our businesses, but it's also increasing the amount of money that we're paying into taxes, right? Because if we're using those dollars to renovate a building, that's a $200,000 building, and now it's an $850,000 building, that's a pretty darn big tax increase, right? So it all comes full circle. And there are grant writers in the community. There are, maybe not full-time grant writers, but there are people in this community who know how to write grants. There are a lot of us that are willing to commit volunteer hours to doing that. I can't commit 40 hours a week, but I've offered up services. If we can find them, I'm more than happy to support. But again, as a for-profit business, we can't apply for those. We have to have the arms to support.
I'd like to touch base a little bit on the collaborative effort and with Marcia's comments on grants. I think don't overlook, there's organizations like CWIT, Central Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation, Marathon, and I'm familiar with several. There's West Central over in Chippewa Falls. There's McDevco out of Wausau. But from a banking perspective, when we're looking at like a new business application, hey, I want to open a business, I need to buy a building. We're looking at a collaborative effort, generally speaking. There's always that equity portion that an owner should put in. We always want to see skin in the game. It makes it a little bit harder, makes you work a little, that whole psychological aspect. But there's a number of funds out there that provide what we refer to as gap financing. Usually it's low cost monies, 2%, 4% dollars. And we've worked really well with some of those. There's several examples where the bank has provided the 80% funding they needed to. Maybe the owner only has 10% of the project, but the gap funding or some working capital is provided by like CWIT, for instance. We just did a project in another community where it was a brand new business. Again, single person opened up this business, and I believe they received $25,000 low income or a low cost loan from CWIT for that one. Effort up in Edgar, we just worked on a project up there. It's public knowledge. It's a coffee roaster. They're rebuilding almost a community center in Edgar. They received a grant, $250,000, one of the downtown redevelopment grants through WEDC, through Wisconsin Economic Development. But then they also received a fairly substantial loan from McDevco, which is the CWIT counterpart that we have here. And what we've been finding is that these organizations are almost out there looking for people to give money to. It's not like, they want businesses to apply, for either for growing or for adding on or buying a new project. So don't be afraid. Talk to your banker. We should have contacts with all of those organizations. If not, we will reach out to usually city people, the economic development people. I haven't met James yet, so I need to spend some time with him a little bit and talk about some things. But, there are pots of money out there. And if you do it right, if you get some grant money at no cost, you get some low-income, not low-income loans, you get some low-interest loans, reducing your borrowing cost, your own money. So there's some ways to put these things together that make economic sense as well. So, but it's all about that collaboration, I think, back to Marcia's point, working together with all these sources. And don't be afraid of making the phone calls and calling Mackey, hey, I've got this project, calling the city, hey, what can you help me with? And one of us hopefully will have an answer for you, and if we don't, we'll try to find it. So, but yeah, be aggressive, advocate for yourself.
I'm just going to point out I've completely abandoned the whiteboard. That wasn't going to work right from the beginning. So Carter's just taking notes, and I've informed him he has 2 weeks to accomplish everything we're talking about here. But we were a part of a meeting with Mackey and Visit Marshfield, and Mid-State Technical College was there, and that's another potentially good resource for grant writing and grant administration. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Sure. We had a meeting on how we can work together with Main Street, Mackey, and Visit Marshfield in the city. We've been brainstorming. We have another meeting next week to collaborate, but Mid-State does have grant writers available also. I know sometimes they do charge, sometimes they do not. I'm not sure what their fee structure is, but they are available also to help with grants. So the resources are out there. Like Marcia said, there are a lot of local people. We know of a couple also that are grant writers. If you have an idea, you have a project, come to us. Like they mentioned, Sierra just wrote a grant. but we're trying to see what else is out there to help our communities, to see them grow. There's a lot of businesses that we would love to see come to Marshfield, but of course, a lot of them need funding. We always get a lot of people that come into Mackey. I have this great idea. Are there grants available? Not really. There's not a lot out there, but that's what we're working on. So hopefully we can, with this grant that I'm really hopeful that we get, can spur new business startups, maybe do some expansions. But yeah, don't forget about your local Midstate. They do have a lot of great grant writers also. And we do all work together as a partnership with all the entities. I think sometimes people don't think we do, but we actually do. We do meet quarterly now. Like I said, next week we have another meeting coming up. So we are getting stronger as a group, and we can only continue to go better, especially now that Carter's on board to bring them up to speed.
I have a question for the group here. You know, again, it's kind of one of my personal passion projects, and it has to do with a building that's 2 blocks behind us over here. Marshfield, I believe, personally, is at the cusp of something that could be really, really significant and really good. And that's the redevelopment of Weinbrenner and hopefully bringing a population to downtown. Group of people, they're talking anywhere from 40 to 80, residences there. Bring people, hopefully it's of a socioeconomic size that could really benefit, and bring money to downtown. And my challenge is, what is Main Street Marshfield and the business owners doing in terms of encouraging that redevelopment and encouraging people to move here and providing services and things that will keep them here and keep that money? You can provide, okay, here's 80 people that have high income. They're going to live 2 blocks away from your business. What are you as a business owner going to do to encourage them to spend their money with you instead of going someplace else or leaving town and keeping them here? So I think it's up to all of us to collaborate. Let's get this project here. But then again, what are we going to do to build off that? We just can't bring it, and they will come. We have to be very active in encouraging the developer, encouraging the people that, hopefully will be living there to stay here and spend their money here. So that's a challenge I'm going to put out to Main Street Marshfield and to the business owners. So,
Does anybody from Main Street want to talk about that? All right.
So no, you're spot on, and I will tell you that as a Main Street board member and as a downtown building and business owner, one of the concerns that I do have is making sure that we think about this from a global perspective in terms of how are we tying the downtown to that Second Street corridor. I mean, I think we all see the value and the benefit of it, but we also need to put resource into the downtown, and we need to be sure that we can bridge the gap between those two. We being Main Street, we have had to kind of sit back, and some of those dollars have been pulled away from us to be given to the Second Street Corridor project, and we understand the importance of the value of that and the necessity of that, but we also need those dollars to be sure to come back to us, because it can't be one or the other. I'm a firm believer that we can't exist without them, they can't exist without us, right? It has to be very, very collaborative. And I've also had people that have thought about developing it say, well, what is gonna happen between, if I go and put all of this money into this facility and all of this work, and then there's nothing that bridges that gap to the downtown, or the downtown doesn't really seem very sustainable, what does that do to my project? And so I think that, from my perspective, making sure that we have the appropriate people sitting on that committee to be sure that we're bridging those gaps is going to be really, really important, and that we're not forgetting about any of those parts and pieces. The other thing, which I didn't say earlier because I think it falls on, I think it's preaching to the choir in this particular group, but I cannot stress this enough to please encourage people to spend your money locally. I see all of this excitement around, ooh, we're getting a new coffee shop, or we're getting a new this, or we're getting a new that, and it's like, yeah, but you know what? We also have existing restaurants and coffee shops that are having a really hard time sustaining, and we may lose them. So we also have to support what's here in addition to welcome the new, because if we lose what's here, we're not gaining anything when a new one comes, right? We have to really, and I've been to, and Denise knows this, I went to some of the CEO meetings, and we talked about, where do you go to eat? Where do you go to do different things? And it's all out of town. And we should, and don't get me wrong, I understand the necessity to go out of town and do things. I understand we don't have everything here, we have to shop. I understand online shopping, we all do those things. But if we don't take the opportunity to support the resources that we have here, they just won't exist. And the less that are here, it's that much harder to attract the additional. So we have to keep bringing those things in, and we have to keep working towards it.
So what I've noticed in other communities, that they're starting to do a shop local campaign. I'm sorry, can you hear me? Is that better? There. A shop local campaign. So they're going out to the community from their main streets, of what, but it doesn't matter where it's at, but the community with the chamber or whatever organizations they have going on in their city are pushing for a shop local campaign. Can we start doing that down here? Where's Mackie? There's Mackie.
Main Street does.
Yeah.
I think it's maybe just not visible enough, possibly.
That maybe advertise, and maybe that could be it too. A lot of people want a shop local campaign, which has been happening. A lot of people aren't seeing that.
Yes.
Correct, not just their holiday season, And I mean, Main Street does it with the beer walks, the wine walks, and Yagway does it. People go down there to see it, they shop down there. People love it, but those are 3 times a year, and plus Christmas.
No, I want to say what I want to say.
No, that's why we're getting Scott.
Microphone's been passing around me. So my question is, and I know this is kind of double-edged sword, being a business owner downtown, a building owner downtown, and a consumer, but I also have what I call a W-2 job where I do work 7 to 4 and I can't get downtown until the evening. Here's a consumer point I have noticed. To me, it doesn't matter if it's a restaurant, if it's retail. How do we encourage, not you guys, because it's not just you guys, it's not just Main Street, it's not just the city. How do we encourage downtown businesses to stay open? The reason people go out of town is because they're open. People are open on the weekends. People are open in the evenings. I mean, for me, working 9 to 5, I can't get downtown with my kids, so I have to go online or the big box store. So how do we encourage downtown to stay? I see all you shaking your head. We all know, right? So how do we encourage people to stay open past an afternoon hour?
That's the biggest question. So I agree. The joke is always that the sidewalks roll up at 5 o'clock. And I do think it's definitely an issue we have downtown, but there have been great attempts made to stay open late, to do Thursday nights, and it's just not sustainable. It's not supported enough by our community. And I think some of that is that I think we in Marshfield have an image problem. I think our downtown has an image problem. I think that we have, and this is me personally speaking, I'm not representing anyone other than my own thoughts here, that we have put so much stake in the medical facility. And you know what? They went through a really big hiccup. And I know that they're rebuilding, but that did hurt a lot of the small businesses. That was a lot of people that left our community. And we put a lot of stake in bringing manufacturing to our community, which is great. I understand we need it. I understand especially the fiscal value that brings. But I don't think we put enough into living local, buying local, shopping local, being a part of this. Downtowns are the heart of a community, and we just all seem, I'm not saying we, I'm using that loosely as Marshfield, seem always so excited about everything that happens on the north side of town. And it gets really frustrating, because if that is all we end up having left is the north side of town, where you can't walk from business to business, you have to literally get in your car to go from one place to the next place. All the parking lots are in the front. All the buildings, the restaurants, the shops, they're all, way off of the main road. That's not a community. Those are just businesses, and they're businesses they're big chains, they aren't local, and people get so excited when we talk about some of these things that are coming, and every Facebook thing every time there's a new thing. Why don't we have a Red Lobster? Why don't we have an Olive Garden? That shouldn't be what we're trying to get. We should be trying to get mom and pop shops. We should be trying to get small businesses. You know, you look at the example that, you know, Nuts Deep does. They worked their butts off, and they rolled with it, you know, when, I remember when you couldn't smoke in bars anymore, and Nuts Deep, they pivoted, you know, and they really turned themselves into this amazing restaurant. You know, but, you know, that was a big turning point where you guys were like, you know what? Okay, this is going to change our business. Let's turn it. And I don't feel like as Marshfield, we're supporting enough of that. A lot of us have gone through industry hiccups. You know, the theater industry has gone through many over the course of the year. And what are we as a community, Marshfield as a whole, doing to keep our image of we have small business? We always seem to talk about these big things. Well, we're forgetting about the little things. And when we talk about Shop Local, it is a marketing thing, but it's beyond Main Street Marshfield. It's beyond Mackey. I don't know at what point, but I just know that we're not doing it. My husband, I'm going to throw him under the bus, he always says that it's like Marshfield feels like they don't deserve nice things. Like he feels like that's just kind of our thought here, where everyone's like, oh yeah, we're going to go to Wausau for dinner. We're going to go here. And now, you know, to Tom's point, we build a beautiful plaza, and funding was cut for entertainment. And that brings people downtown. We saw it, you know, a block away. And we cut this, the splash pad. That hurts us. All these things that we are pulling away from our community, it hurts all of us. And I don't think we're looking at that. Well, there's my soapbox. I just don't think we're celebrating Marshfield enough.
Yep, just 1 second. So we're down to 7 minutes. I think we're kind of all over the board here, which is great, which is kind of what I expected it would be. But Tom, if you want to say something, make it concise so we can see if we can get somebody else to talk.
People need to realize that there are a lot of people from out of town coming to the downtown at times when the downtown's not open. My wife is running the ice cream shop. We're open Tuesday through Friday. She works a job on Mondays, so we can't be all days. Tuesday through Friday, she's open till 7 o'clock. 7 o'clock now because it gets dark and there's just not a lot of business after that. People are coming in on a Saturday afternoon when we're open. People are coming in on a Friday evening, a Thursday evening. People are in town because they're having some work done at the health, you know, at the medical conference, whatever. They're coming downtown, they're wandering around, they're getting ice cream, and they're telling my wife, we're from out of town and we're going to wander around downtown. And my wife sees them walk out of the store and thinks, what are they going to see? What are they going to go to? There are a ton of out-of-town people that people don't realize are coming into our downtown. Downtowns throughout the country are seeing a revitalization. People are coming to the downtown. We've got to be open and ready to serve those people.
Yep, and I think one thing that we talk about a lot on Main Street is we don't want this city to die from the inside out, which we do see in other communities. Matt?
Yeah, I just wanted to touch on like Tom's point. Again, Matt McLean with Visit Marshfield. There are 650 hotel rooms in Marshfield. And honestly, I was just looking at some data from the last couple months, and really the busiest nights are usually Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And so a lot of the hotels are at 70%, 80% occupancy over the last few months. And so that's, 500 people here. And again, some of them are here for business, and then they want to go out at night. And I think if, there's not a lot of shops open downtown. I think, I know Ann, probably from Nuts Deep with Holiday Inn across, that's probably a great feeder for you, getting good restaurant stuff there. I also think too, one maybe connection that I'd like to try to work with Main Street and more with the chamber on stuff is the Shop Local. I think one of the things Visit Marshfield does is the best of Marshfield, and we try to showcase the small independent businesses. Like Nuts Deep has won a lot of awards. Mojo's, we don't feature the chain stores, and again, they're great. People need to run businesses there, but we try to showcase the locals. So maybe there's a way we can tie the Shop Local, the best of Marshfield, and really just try to showcase the small independent great things that people want to come see, and locals as well as visitors. So thanks. Yeah.
Real quick, what a lot of people have said resonates very loudly, but as a council member, don't let us govern in a vacuum. You can call us, you can talk to us. I hear very little from my constituents except for long, grass that's too long, cars, and that 90% of my complaints are junk in people's yards and lawns. Talk to us, but more importantly, come to City Council. That 5-minute period that you have to talk in public comment is so key. I've been a council member for 1 year. I cannot tell you how much it resonates with council. It refocuses things. Dave's comments at City Council, I think, refocused the entire council on what the Weinbrenner development was going to be. So take 5 minutes. Yes, you're going to be on TV, but you won't know it. I get nervous when I speak at that podium. It's a little imposing, but please do so, because it's going to bring issues to the focus of the entire council. Because you can call me and tell me, we need to focus on the downtown. We need to focus here, and I can tell that to my 10 council or 9 fellow council members. But it comes better from you. It's a stronger statement. So I would tell you, please come to council meetings. Spend 5 minutes, and you're done. I mean, it's the first part. We pledge allegiance, citizens' comments, and you'll be gone. But your thoughts will stick with us as a council for a long time. And it also puts your issues in front of department heads. I mean, generally, every department head is at our meeting, so everyone will hear it. So. And I do agree with Vicky's comments on we really need to focus on our downtown locally owned businesses, because if anyone, I know I'm hogging the microphone, but look what happened when the bowling alley closed, the outrage in our community. I still hear it today. So what do we do for these businesses before that happens? Because if I decide to leave town or shut down, nothing you can do at that point or afterwards is going to help. And that's exactly what happened with the bowling alley. So,
all right, I said I wanted to be respectful of everybody's time, and we're just about out of time. We do have a sign-up sheet here. If you haven't signed up, please come up and sign up. We would appreciate that. Carter's been taking diligent notes, so we're going to get some action points, and we're going to work from here. But as long as we have the panelists here, Steve, I know you wanted to talk about something, and I did have a question based on one of the comments there. This is something we talk about all the time with Main Street. Is when we do an event, we had Third Thursdays where we encourage businesses to stay open late. And the term the analogy we always bring up is you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. So if none of the businesses stay open for Third Thursday, we don't really have a Third Thursday. So this is a thorny question, especially in an area that's very libertarian, and maybe you can chime in as well. But how do you, we see main streets that are vibrant, where they're open all the time. They have a certain look about them. It's uniform. Can you do that without restrictive covenants or, ordinances that require that sort of thing?
That's a good question. I think we need to look at some of those, and I'm glad James is coming on board. He's got a background in some things that may help us to be more open to things that might make the downtown look more appealing. And sometimes zoning codes restrict that in ways that are unintended consequences. So I'd like to meet, I think that's something that the Main Street and the city should partner with that conversation, along with other things. We've had an ongoing conversation off and on about parking. And I don't want to bring that up for very long. You don't want to hear it for very long. But truthfully, are the parking rules helping us to keep spaces open, keep them moving? Are they hurting us by people getting tickets because they come to enjoy our downtown and they have a citation to go home with and they don't want to come back? I think all those kind of things we need to talk about. Tom made some great points earlier about landscaping and downtown parking lot maintenance and that type of thing. So there's room to work together in a more meaningful way, and I think we need to get a team together and do that. Can I make one other quick comment, though? Marcia made a good comment earlier about the downtown renovation thing. The grants from the city to downtown projects, facade grant work and interior renovations, have been an unfortunate unintended consequence of the last couple of years of us spending money on the 2nd Street corridor. I think the city made a big commitment back in 2022 to the corridor, trying to get some development going on west of this building, headed out toward Weinbrenner, and been meeting with property owners, been working a lot on the Weinbrenner renovation. But this will be our second year, it looks like, without providing grants to people. I had a conversation with Jenna by email just the other day. you know, when we partnered and had those grants for downtown businesses to do rehab, we've generally gotten $2 to $3 of private investment for every dollar we put in, and a lot of great things have happened in the last decade or more because of that. I'm taking many of these comments to heart. We need to prioritize getting that back on the docket.
All right. I think that's it. That's all the time we have. So good thing to do is leave them wanting more, and I think everybody has more they'd like to say, so we can definitely do this again at some other time. But thank you, everybody, for coming out, and that's going to wrap up our town hall today.